Hello there, Pisces. Welcome to your August forecast. I hope that this month is getting off to a really great start for everybody. As you know, we just came through a retrograde cycle, and whenever we go into Mercury retrograde, it can cause some challenges with communication, with technology, and sometimes things just don't kind of connect the way they should. You may or may not be aware that there is also a period right after retrograde known as the shadow, and the Mercury retrograde shadow can last between a week to 2 weeks afterwards. I know that some people get a little bit nervous about this, but I see it as a chance where you can have sort of like malleable energy. You can really continue to make some positive changes in your life, plant some seeds, and really get your next quarter of the year off to a good start. To help you out with this, what I'm going to do is right at the beginning add a special component that is kind of like your survival guide for the retrograde shadow. Then we'll get into the full forecast, so definitely stick around for that latter part. All right, let's talk a little bit about what came through when I began to meditate. The first thing that I saw in respect to that Mercury retrograde shadow was the moon itself. And for me, the moon is a very powerful, very strong, and also a very helpful energy. But there are a few things that you have to be aware of. In my experience, it works in a very subtle way. So it's not something that's just going to hit you over the top of the head. You may not get a clairaudient or a clairvoyant message. It might come through the environment. You may hear a song on the radio, you may just feel something in your body, or it may be a persistent thought. So your intuition will be heightened, but you're going to have to be a little bit more aware of the signs and the symbols around you. So take time to kind of slow down and meditate, or just really take stock of what's going on, because you might miss something otherwise. The other thing that I saw was that, with the moon card itself, there is a need for you to look at whatever it is that's making you afraid or making you feel like you might not be in control of something. It's those shadowy areas or those uncomfortable areas of our psyche that will ultimately help us become stronger people. We have to go in there and sort of shine the light and heal it first, though. And so if you do that at the beginning of the month, you'll more than likely kind of get rid of that last little bit of residue. Whatever you didn't resolve last month, it will be resolved by, the 10th, the 12th, the 14th, and you won't have to worry about it. Otherwise, it could kind of come back on its own, and that's not really something that you want to do, because then you no longer have the advantage of knowing what you're dealing with and sort of taking control of it. So be proactive at the beginning of this month and really do what you can to alleviate fears, frustrations, doubts, etc., and then focus on tuning into your intuition. Now, I did pull a card here from a larger deck just so that we can talk about the moon and see a nice big version of it here. And what I want to focus on are the dog and the wolf. What this represents in your psyche or in your energy is the difference between what you know and what you've been taught to do. And I think that this month, for many of you, there could be a fork in the road. Whether it's a relationship, a job, or some other big decision, you could be sort of drawn to try something new and go away from the status quo or what people expect of you. The other thing that I see with this is that if you feel something intuitively, but people around you discount it, your training sort of discounts it, or just common sense comes in and says, nah, that couldn't be. I want you to kind of take pause and think, well, actually, if I really feel that it is, I need to honor that. I need to investigate that intuition. Because if you overthink it or if you dismiss it, you could be missing out on a big opportunity. Really kind of get in touch with your inner spirit wolf, if you will, because the dog is not always the best choice in this particular card. Not this month anyway, when we're going with that energy of the moon, which is primal, which is subtle, and which really works more on instinct than intellect. So don't miss out on something just because you think that it may not be the right thing. Focus on how it feels. Feel your way through this month. As I said in another sign, think of that as your guiding light or your North Star, and it won't lead you astray. The other thing that you'll notice in this is that there's a little windy road here leading to an unknown destination. Many of you may be sort of called to take your own path, something that your parents don't understand, your partner may not understand, even a friend of yours. If that's your destiny, if that's what your soul is kind of calling you to do, honor that as well. This is a month where you really want to get in tune with your heart, your soul, and your life purpose. That path is one that only you know, and if you let that go, these are like windows of opportunity. You don't know when it's going to be opening up again or when you're going to be able to take that path again. Once you've done some of that healing and resolving some of the energy that's coming through with the moon, then you have a chance to start to manifest. And the second energy that came through was that of the magician for me. For me, the magician is a jack of all trades, but there is also a warning with the magician that you want to focus your intent, your time, your attention, and your energy. The other thing that I saw when I looked at the magician, and this only came through for your sign, was that if you don't find an outlet for your creative energy, for that divine energy that's coming through you, then you're either going to have some problems sleeping, some problems focusing or concentrating at work or school, or you may just seem like you're restless. So it's really important to have something that you can do with this inspiration, with this divine energy. And because it's coming from source, I would really put it into something that you care about. Take a risk and do something that you've always wanted to try or always wanted to explore. So whether that is, going and taking a class, or maybe doing something of service, or it could be healing as well, because this is the card of natural healers. I feel like this is the month to take that leap of faith, okay? Let's go ahead now and get into the regular forecast. First and foremost, I'd just like to say thank you and welcome back to everybody that has been a longtime viewer. I really appreciate your continued work on yourself and all the love and support that you continue to show here. This has been a great journey together. Let's keep it up, okay? For everybody that's brand new, a nice warm welcome, and let me introduce myself. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and this is how I organize my readings each and every month. I like to start off with sign-specific channeled information, and we'll be getting into that in just a second. And right after that, I like to use a full Celtic Cross to look at all of the information for the month. This is very organic, so whatever needs to come through will. It's usually the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens. Because I like to allow that to just be organic and not focus solely on relationships or money, I have an expanded forecast, and in that point, I will look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. This way we get a really nice deep dive in everything, and you get a bird's eye view of everything that's going to come through for the month, so I think you'll like it. In fact, if you do like what you see, please stick around until the very end. Right after I give the summary and right before the closing word, I will let you know how you can support the channel and give back if that's something that you would like. Just as some highlights, that includes, of course, liking and subscribing, joining me on social media, booking an appointment if you would like to, and also doing a contribution, whether it's one-time or sustaining. Any or all of these things make a really big impact in keeping this channel healthy and yours truly as well. So I just want to say thank you in advance. Before I get into the reading, one last note. You can always use this for your sun, your rising, and for your moon sign. You can also watch on behalf of someone else. If you don't know all of that, just stick with the sign that you were born under, and that's going to be more than enough. All right, let's get into the channeled information for the month of August. As I selected a deck of cards and began to meditate on your sign, the first thing that I felt was a lightness of body, a lightness of being, and then a little bit of vertigo as my energy jettisoned out into basically into the stratosphere. As I looked down, I realized I was looking at everything from not even just a bird's eye view, but almost like from outer space. And I didn't hear anything, I didn't see anything, I just felt this sense of being calm. It was just myself, my thoughts, and the view in front of me. What I captured in my automatic writing was to set your sights this month on the big picture, to really allow yourself to zoom way out and see not only what you're working on, but how it affects other people, what the big purpose is behind what you're doing right now, and to sort of see all of those dominoes falling around you and how you can basically be more involved in creating something in your life and in manifesting, if you will. Then I wrote to tune out any of the drama or noise, because as I jettisoned out of my body and projected into space, I no longer was able to hear all of the chatter. I didn't feel like I was weighed down by any of the gravity of the situation or any literal gravity here on the planet. There was this sense of being free. So if you allow your imagination to wander, like my sort of weightlessness there for a moment, and go in whatever direction it needs to, don't tether yourself so much to the practical, to the feedback that you've received, to the worry that you might not be understood. This is going to allow you to go exactly in the direction that you should. I want you to take some risks in your thoughts, in your dreams, and in your aspirations this month. You need to give yourself permission, at least within your heart and within your head, to try something out. Whether you decide to follow through in real life, that's up to you. But I do want you to dream this month. Dream big, explore things in your mind, and then get out of your head a little bit and look at how this is going to really factor into like your life purpose, what you're trying to accomplish. That big picture is important. And if you're too closed in, and if you're focusing too much on what your friends, your teacher, your family, society is saying, you're never going to be able to accomplish your vision. So whatever you have to do to see your vision, to feel what it is that you want to do, the passion, the drive, the life purpose, that's your number one priority this month. That's what came through in the channeled message. And we'll see as we look at the cards here in a moment how that's going to factor into the forecast as well. So this is a perfect segue into getting into the Celtic Cross. I want to remind you that I'm going to remain quiet as I pull all 10 cards here, but afterwards I'll pull each and every one up and talk about how it relates to you and the month ahead. So this month you actually received 2 messages in the catalyst position. I'm going to read one at a time and talk about them. The first one, the one that was on top, says, "Great adventure, take a risk, venture forward." This was part of what I was talking about here in your channeled message. So I want you to be able to, at least in your mind, think of something that you want to do. This is showing that it's worth that adventure. You never know where it can take you. And this was then contrasted by this card, which says, go slow and take your time. So this is actually showing that risk doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go all in. It means that you could put one foot in the water and still start to tread towards that goal. And so this month, if you could, my advice for you would be to really think of something big, whatever your big dream or aspiration is. And think about how fun that would feel, what a great experience that would be, and then take one small step in that direction. Notice that we've got a lot of ships coming through. Some of you may be looking at an opportunity to travel, to broadcast, or to distribute something, or there may be a good or a service that you're thinking of selling or kind of bringing out to the world at large. I like it, I like where it's headed, and I think that you should give yourself a chance to somehow stretch a little bit and try. The other thing is you might be thinking about moving or traveling or just trying to experience something different in your life. That's also a great thing. This month, as far as I can see in the catalyst, is all about expansion, and all you need is one spark to really allow for that passion to ignite. So that's all you have to do, is to begin the adventure through a small action or a small spark, okay? Let's now look at each card one by one and talk about what's coming through for this month. So I'm excited to see that you have the moon here at the center. That files in almost directly with what I was seeing in the channeled message for all signs. So this is showing you all of those good things that we were talking about the moon, being able to sort of reveal things that you need to be focusing on, to help guide you using your own instincts and your own intuition on how to kind of navigate through things. Now, for you, there is something that's coming through that you'll need to resolve towards the beginning of the month. We have right on top of this the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords can show a couple of things, and I've seen this pop up this month, but for you, it's right on top of the moon, so I do want you to focus on this during weeks 1 and 2. First and foremost, if there's any communication issues going on between you and loved ones, or anybody in your life where you're just having tension, it's really important for you to try to address these concerns, neutralize them, and pick and choose the battles, because with the Ten of Swords, you run the danger of saying something that you can't take back. There's a reason that you normally see carnage in the picture. In this one, what I'm seeing is that it's not as bad as the typical Ten of Swords, but that you could end up sort of painting yourself into a corner. So before you enter into a tricky conversation or sort of deliberation, you want to think through all of the possible outcomes and really make sure that the other person has a chance to talk and that the two of you are on equal grounds. it would be a good time for you to maybe bring them onto your turf, or maybe the two of you could find a neutral place to talk. This will also help either put you in the advantage or bring both of you into a space where you're not feeling threatened. The other thing with the Ten of Swords is this could be an example of you just overdoing it in your life. Burning the candle at both ends, not taking care of yourself with regards to your diet, with just self-care. You might be overdue for a day off, or there might be something chronic that's kind of exacerbated in your body because of stress, because of something that's going on. So I think that you need to slow down right at the beginning of the month. Be careful with communication. If there's any way that you could push off a negotiation or a major meeting until the middle of the month, that would be great. But if there's something that needs to be resolved and it happens, at the first week of the month, that's okay. You're going to have a chance to heal during that period. Just slow down and really try to be there for the other party, and I think that you'll be able to alleviate what we see here in the Ten of Swords. Because again, I don't see carnage here. I'm just seeing that you're kind of trapped, and you don't want to limit your options unnecessarily. That's not a good thing. When I'm looking at deep past, we have the Nine of Swords. So I think that Ten of Swords could be exacerbated by poor sleep habits or by stress that you're taking home from work or from other parts of your life. I'm getting the sensation that some of you may almost be like this energetic sponge, really high functioning empaths that are taking on a lot of energy from people around you. So what you could start to do is work on shielding and grounding. It's something that's really important. Use something like an Epsom salt bath to help clear out your auric shield, and definitely amp up the meditation this month. If you're having trouble sleeping, take a look at caffeine intake, and also just simply saying no to some of these conversations. If it's just people complaining, you could say, you know what, I'm actually really busy right now. Could we meet tomorrow? I'd love to help you out, but let's do it first thing because right now I have to finish this up. Put some limits in your life. Say no occasionally. You don't always have to pick up the phone if someone is constantly abusing that. And most importantly, create good habits around sleep and wake. So just make sure that your schedule is consistent, that you're going to bed at least at the same time, even if you're having a hard time falling asleep. And try not to take naps if that's also happening. Get that rhythm in order so that you will be able to manage your health and be there for yourself and others in your life as well. I think that you're going to be able to resolve this because everything around this center point looks really good. We have Three of Wands, Three of Cups, and the Sun. So this looks to me like it really is just retrograde shadow energy, and I think it's just going to kind of exist. We have the Ten of Swords here and the Nine of Swords. So I think the 9th or 10th of the month, after that, you're going to start to have easy sailing. So just extra careful during those periods of time, and then you're going to be okay. Looking at recent past here, we have the Three of Wands in reverse. I feel like some of you are overdue for a break in your life. The Three of Wands shows a period of growth and expansion when it comes to opportunities in your life, your personal and also professional careers. And again, I'm getting a good vibe for any sort of travel that you'd like to do this month. So things are going to get better. You're going to start to see some improvements, but I have to jump to the ego card this month because we do have the Tower here. And I think that some of you are in a moment in time where you're ready to just move up, move on, or move out. I've said this for a few signs this month, and that's okay. The Tower in the ego means that you know what you have to do. It's upright. It's not showing up in the environment, so I'm not worried about where you're living or working. It's not showing up in the center, so everything around you isn't unstable. It's not in the crowning position, so that's not touching everything around it. It's more a change that's happening within you. And so if you've felt this sort of shift, maybe it could be a Kundalini awakening, an intuitive awakening, a creative renaissance, the Tower can be great. It's the energy of change, and it can also be highly transformative. With Three of Wands, Three of Cups, and the Sun card, I think you're headed in a good direction. And we actually have the Magician in the outcome. So you got both the Moon and the Magician, which I saw, which are very powerful, which are very good at manifesting. I think you're ready for a career change or some sort of major move in your life. Don't fight it off. Like I said earlier, just think about what this might be like, because I feel like you might be in a phase where you're what-ifing. In other words, kind of dreaming and imagining what a future could look like. That's a really healthy and a really empowering thing to do. So spend time doing that, okay? one more thing with the Three of Wands. If there's something that you really want to create, planting a seed this month could be highly effective, because this will set into motion some very positive shockwaves that will take you until the end of the year. And it's almost like you're able to surf on top of that momentum that you're building. So I highly recommend doing proactive work this month, trying new things and setting into motion anything that you really, really want. That could be like sending out a resume, picking up a phone and talking to someone that could connect you to something, going to a special event, because your crowning card is the Three of Cups. So this is the most important month perhaps of this year that you could network. If there's any birthday parties, any sort of public conventions for work, or any sort of special events where you're going to connect with other peers or people that are in the know, this is the time to do it, okay? For those of you that might be looking for either a new friendship, a new partnership, or perhaps trying to find new love, the Three of Cups is a great card for meeting new people. It can also show that there's a cause for celebration, which could be something like a promotion, a move, and we see that because of the change that's going on here. And this could also simply be a chance for you to have fun with someone in your life. Connect with an old friend, connect with the person that you're already in a relationship with, and try to do something just for the sake of hanging out. This is a great way to sort of rekindle a lost flame or just have fun, and I think that's really good. Being that it's in the crowning position, it's also showing that you have an ability this month to kind of move between social spheres with great ease. You can blend in, you can adapt your communication style, and people are going to be enjoying your company. So it's a fortuitous position for the Three of Cups. I got an interesting message when I was looking at your near future card. We have the Sun in reverse. First of all, the Sun in a very practical state is saying that you have great energy with other people. You're going to be able to work through some of those denser energies that we saw in the middle and in the deep past. But what it is saying with respect to what you want to communicate to others is keep some things to yourself. The Three of Cups is a very social card, but there can be things like gossip or news that kind of leaks from that sort of an engagement. So if you're working on something really important with a level of secrecy, or there's a lot of high stakes, this is something where you want to pull the energy in. And the Sun reversed is just that. It's a decision that I want to keep a little bit for myself. Sometimes I can see it as a selfish energy. Other times, like this, it presents itself more as protective. So if there's something really important in your life, whether it's your family, a project that you're working on, your assets, or something that you just don't want everyone to know about, I think it's okay to kind of fly a little bit more under the radar this month and really pick and choose the people with whom you want to share that kind of information. Some things are sensitive for a reason, and I think you need to honor that. For me, the Sun can also indicate a baby, usually a baby boy. We see the Three of Cups and then the Sun. There could be a celebration, a christening, a baptism, something like that. And if that's the case, great. And that would also explain why the Tower was coming through. That kind of a change in some of your lives could really shake things up a little bit. But as I said, the Sun in and of itself shows that it's worth the effort and that things typically find a way of working themselves out. Let's focus now a little bit more on the Tower here. Because it's in the ego, it can show a change of mind, a change of heart. For some of you, you may decide to up and move from your house, from a work situation. The main thing that I want you to focus on, however, is your overall health, because this is in your ego, and this can have to do with your mind, your body, and your spirit. We'll be expanding in a moment to look at the extended forecast, but right now, the fact that I saw the Nine of Swords and the Ten of Swords crossing the moon tells me that some of you know what you need to change in your life, but you're not making those changes. This is your wake-up call if you're listening to it and you've been thinking, I'll do that next month, or maybe it's stopping smoking or drinking, or fixing the way that your diet is organized. Whatever it is, there's something that's off, and I feel like you already know what you need to change. Please take that step this month, and if you need help, there are people around you that can help you. I will say this, because the Three of Cups is in a crowning position, and we have a card like the Moon at the center, there could also be temptation around some of you, and it might be time to pull back a little bit, and that's why the Sun was reversed. So if you're going to do this, some of you might be trying to do it for a child or to protect your overall well-being. Whatever your motive is, I approve of that. You should be trying to take care of your future and your family's future. but you need to act quickly and you need to possibly get some assistance for that, okay? For the rest of you, I just see a rapid period of change because we have the Tower, and then in the environment, we have a card that kind of speeds up the action of the Tower, which is the Knight of Swords. With the Knight of Swords, this could also be the delivery of sort of a legal document or something that you receive via phone, text, or email. It's some sort of a message that comes through, and suddenly it's like everything changes because of that. So I want you to take a half step back and just take a deep breath. Remember, I kind of got that vertigo when I was tuning in at the beginning, so I think I understand now what that could be. For some of you, it's big news, and you need to kind of take an overarching view of everything going on in your life and think, what does this mean? Am I ready? What are my next steps? The answer for some of you comes in the opportunity space where we look at hopes, fears, and possibilities. We have the Eight of Cups. This is actually fantastic because it shows that for some of you, there could be a chance for you to not make a full commitment before having to go somewhere. So if it's a job, it's maybe a temp to perm opportunity. If you're looking at buying a place, you might be able to lease it, rent it, or try it out for a few weeks or a few months. And if you can't do something right now, the Eight of Cups means that there will be a return window that you can try it again. Just make sure that you negotiate that and get that in writing, especially since we're in the retrograde shadow. You want to make sure everything is ironed out there. So you don't have to drop everything right now. You should, in fact, do what you can to sort of try something out. So if you're deciding to move somewhere, take a trip. Go there for a couple of weeks. If you can look at it at different times of the year, that would be great. If you have to make the decision right here, right now, just make sure that you spend enough time in that area to make sure that it's compatible with you. Ultimately, I like your final card. It's the Magician in reverse. The Magician always is a card of manifestation. I talked to you at the beginning about making sure that you focus, though, and that for many of you, you need to be challenged. You need to have something that you can put your creative input into. So I would say that it's important for you, especially if you were feeling some sort of level of unfulfillment in whatever job you were in, to now find something that is challenging, fulfilling, and affirming. So I think you're headed in that path anyway, and it looks like you've got enough time to sort of make that shift. So good for you if that's the case. The other thing with the Magician in reverse, when we're looking at health, sobriety, and overcoming any obstacles in your life, the fact that we have the Moon in the center and the Magician reverse in the outcome can show that, again, there could be some temptations for some of you. So stay strong in your resolve, and if you need to, really focus on taking care of yourself. This card, the Sun, can be about receiving some healing, meditating, and really just making sure that the decisions that you're making are in your best interest, okay? Overall, I really like the energy this month, but there's no getting around a major shift happening. A change of mind, a change of heart, a change of location, a change of job. This is the month to make it happen, and when it happens, you're gonna be surprised at how quickly everything around you is moving, okay? And I feel like it's important for you to reach out and let some people know, talk to some people. That card is saying you need to pick up the phone if you're feeling overwhelmed, because there's a lot of help available to you. I can see it all around you, and I feel like things are going to work out. You just have to, when you can, like, take a moment to yourself and try to process all of the change before it kind of pulls you along, okay? Let's go ahead and expand the forecast. We're going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny, beginning with health. And this is a multifaceted card that looks at mind, body, and spirit. I especially want to look at that since I see a couple of cards that can show stress or the body being sort of tired or pushed to its limits. So let's see if there's any advice here on how to avoid getting sick or feeling like you're kind of broken down, okay? We'll give the cards a shuffle now. As we look at health this month, the message is just to slow down and pull in your energy a little bit. In the upright position, it says expansiveness, but when we reverse it, it's the reverse. That basically means contract, say no a little bit, and wherever possible on some of your commitments, it's time to sort of cut some of those. I do want you to be able to network. I think that's important, but you don't want to do it to the point that you're not getting enough sleep, or if you're consuming a lot of coffee or alcohol and that's interrupting your circadian rhythm, then you don't want that to happen either. So take care of yourself, take care of your sleep-wake schedule, take care of your body, and if you have to say no to some things, please do that. And I think that in the light of all of the change and potentially for some of you the travel that's happening, it's important to push back a little bit on some of these other activities. By saying no, by limiting how much you're doing, you're going to be better able to focus on what you do decide to put your energy and time into. All right, let's look at wealth now. This is going to include not only money, but the opportunities that are in front of you. What a truly exciting card to show up in your wealth sector. We have this cosmic gateway message, and it says, your thoughts are magnetic and powerful. Miraculous changes are occurring right now here. So with Horus, a god of death and rebirth, I see this now as a absolute opportunity for you to move on from something. So if you're not happy with what you're doing, this is your breakout month. You could start your own business. You could go to a new job. You could find a way to kind of transfer within the company or get a new position. Shifting, changing, molding, you can do anything that you want to do this month when it comes to work. But it does require some imagination. It requires a little bit of work on your part. Portals exist, but you still have to walk through them. So are you ready? That would be question number one. Question number two, what are you going to do to make it happen? And question three is, what is the timing for you? I feel like this month is when everything gets set into motion. So part of the timing is you have to do something this month to set the kind of set the timer going. But anything that you kind of pull the trigger on this month, I feel like you're going to start to see progress, because we had the Three of Wands, we have the Sun card, we have Eight of Cups, which means that there could be return work, return conversations on this, the Tower, and a very sort of cosmic version of death here. So this is the time for change. Don't feel like you have to sit still. If there's something that you want to create in your life, you also have the Magician card here at the end. Rarely do I see a spread with so much transitional energy. I think for you this month, it's not a question of if, it's rather when are you ready to make the change and when will the change happen. So this is up to you, but I encourage you to kind of get ahead of the curve, because with that Tower card and with all of these 9 and 10 of Swords cards here that I see, I do feel like this is the right move, this is the right time. Try to get ahead of it before it catches up to you. And that's been the message way back since the beginning when I was looking at the umbrella. If you have an opportunity this month to get out of something that you don't like, you should take it, I think. All right, let's go ahead now and look at your love card and see what's coming through for relationships of all sorts this month, not just romantic ones. As we look at love this month, there's a card of protection and assistance that comes through. It says, your career brings fairness and protection to others who need your help, and the title is Justice. Whenever I see justice or judgment and it's coming through in a place like love, it means that someone in your life may be in a place of need. Maybe they are going through a difficult breakup, or there's some sort of domestic violence, or there's legal issues that are coming through, or they just need your help or protection. You may also be the one going through some of these things. Seek help or lend that support this month if that's the case, because it really does feel like service is what's necessary or what feels good to you, and it's a very healing energy. So take care of yourself, take care of others, and if you've ever felt like doing something for your community or for the world at large, again, this is a perfect time to allow for your energy, your skills, and your advice to be something of service, okay? The other thing, even though it is basically not what the card itself is saying, the fact that it's justice, I get two other elements that would come through if I would think of this as a tarot card rather than an oracle card. An upright justice means that you're trying to find balance in your life and weigh out how your work-life balance is sort of sitting with respect to all of your obligations, and also if you want to stay in a relationship. To be frank, the Three of Cups is a card where you're not necessarily ready for an exclusive relationship. So you may have a hard time committing this month when it comes to any sort of engagement. For many of you, your time will be better spent simply getting to know someone this month and not jumping into some sort of a promise that you're not ready to keep. So that would be my advice there, is take it slowly and really just get to know people and enjoy that process if you can. Let's move along now to destiny. This functions like a GPS. It's a chance for you to have like a gut check and see if you're happy with the path that you're on, or if there's some advice on how you could get maybe back on your preferred trajectory, or if there's some course corrections that you could make. So as we're looking at your final card, this reminds me a lot of what we saw with the Magician. Now in this particular deck, it's harder to see because it's called the Witch and it's been sort of reimagined, but I happen to have the Magician handy here. And if you notice, they're both about ceremonial type things. And for me, this can actually indicate even just habitual things in your life, creating a schedule, like a workout routine, a meditation schedule, a new diet that you're gonna stick to. Whatever you wanna do this month, you have the energy again, the shadow is a good time to plant the seeds, and then the latter part of the month is when you're going to really start to see this fall into place. The Cosmic Gateway card is also supporting that. Whatever changes you wish to make, they're going to happen. And if you keep doing them, they become a part of your energy, and you can really set into motion some fantastic things for the rest of this year. So I'm excited overall. I think this is a really transformative month. You might be the most sort of alchemic and transformative spread of anyone that I've seen this month. I think that there's so much potential, and a lot of it exists within the space of work, finance, and personal growth. So the only challenge really for you is your health. You've got to take care of yourself, and relationships. It seems like the energy doesn't really want to go into relationships, at least not into the commitment area. It seems like a lot of this has to go into your personal growth, your career growth, your big picture. When we looked at that, figuring out what it is, who you are, and what you want to do. So before I get ahead of myself, why don't we now segue into the summary, and then I'll give you your closing word. Your channeled message this month was to set your sights on the big picture. For many of you, this is going to happen when you get news of a change, or you decide that you might want to make some sort of a shift in your life. Before making that big move, make sure that you meditate, make sure that you sleep on it, so that you are absolutely secure in your decision. We see a little bit more of this coming through when we look at the catalyst. You're ready for a great adventure, but as we look at the card underneath it, some of you want to slow down and maybe just take a step at a time rather than one big jump towards that new destination. There's no wrong way to do it, and if that's what your heart says you need to do, then by all means follow that. The central card is the Moon. The Moon is a great card, but I'm going to pull this card here that we were looking at earlier. It's the same card, just a different illustration. The Moon is reminding you that there are two aspects of your personality that are kind of perhaps warring this month. One is a primal and intuitive side that really already knows what you need to do. The other is a practical side that has been trained or conditioned by society. This month, follow your intuition. It's going to lead you down the path that is best for you. One thing that you have to pay attention to, especially towards the first 2 weeks of the month, is not to enter into any arguments or miscommunications, especially not agreeing to something that could kind of paint you into a corner. The other thing with the Ten of Swords is some of you may be experiencing fatigue because you've overcommitted yourself. You might be burning the candle at both ends. Slow down. I think that's the most important thing that you can do when it comes to your personal health. Pay close attention to your sleep and wake schedule, making sure that there is some sense of regularity to that. And if you are carrying home stress, make sure that you do your best to say no to people, to cut your hours back a little bit. You have to get that sleep in order to take advantage of all the shifting and all the changing that wants to come through. This is a great month for development with the Three of Wands. You're going to set in motion a really positive, I mentioned like a shock wave or a reverberation over the next 3 months, and you can ride that wave of positivity. This is a very good time for networking and for meeting new people. It may be difficult to commit, but the connections that you make now could actually end up being long-term in a month or two from now. So just take your time. It's kind of like that great adventure card that we were looking at in the Catalyst. One step at a time. Don't get ahead of yourself. I think that's going to save you a lot of headache later. With the Sun card in reverse, I'm actually getting that you might want to keep some things to yourself. Don't let everything out of the bag at the get-go. Make sure that you can trust people. And you might want to get a non-disclosure agreement if there's any sort of casual communications about work or ideation. Looks like many of you are at a transitional point in your life. We have actually a card here in wealth that is much like death. We have a card here in your ego, which is literally the Tower, showing that you're having a change of heart, a change of mind. You might want to change your job or your living situation. There's a decision that needs to be made right now, and that's up to you, and that's really what's affecting everything around it. It's only as stable or as unstable as your sort of decision allows it to be. So you have a lot of control in this, and I wouldn't freak out. The only thing that I would say with this being in your ego position is the health component does concern me. I want you to get that under control. Ask for help or talk to a doctor if you're not feeling well. Once you've made your decision, everything starts to happen quickly. And for some of you, it's happening fast because you've already received like an offer letter, or people have found out, because with the Three of Cups and the Knight of Swords, there's a lot of communication happening. The Eight of Cups is showing me that there will be more travel in the future for you. There might be some back and forth commuting before you decide to land somewhere. And I think that that's actually advantageous. It's going to give you the confidence that you need to move forward. In your outcome, you have the Magician. It's reversed though, and that's saying that focus is necessary for you. And I mentioned earlier when we looked at the umbrella message for everybody that you really need a place that you can channel all of that energy this month. So a creative outlet or a professional outlet, just making sure that it's not all pent up. Otherwise, you could start to feel frustrated, and that could be leading to some of the sleeplessness or some of the tension that you're feeling. With health, there's a message to pull back a little bit, to conserve energy, to focus on what you really want to do, and to really be as healthy as possible. In wealth, there's a reminder that your thoughts are magnets, they manifest. And what's really important for you right now is to know that changes will happen as fast as you're ready to let them happen. And that's what we see. There's a very strong connection between the Tower and between the Cosmic Gateway. For love, you may be called to defend someone, or you may need some assistance yourself. This can also just show that you're not ready to make a decision when it comes to a relationship, so take your time. Finally, with the Invocation and Ceremony card, anything that you decide to put into motion this month is going to be very powerful. And as I said, with the Three of Wands here, it can set into action some sort of a kind of cosmic wave that's going to affect the next 3 or 4 months. And it's also really what you need to be focusing on, because that energy of the Magician, it needs and it wants an outlet. So create some sort of a new habit in your life, whether it's health related, career related, or some other bigger change in your life. You won't regret that. So this brings your monthly reading to a close, and I hope it gave you exactly what you needed to travel through the ups, the downs, and the in-betweens for the month ahead. If, however, you ever feel like you want to talk a little bit more, maybe about one of the opportunities that's coming through or a relationship, then I would be happy to chat with you. You can click on the first card in the video or the first link right below, and this will take you to my booking site where you can check out my rates and availability. If that makes sense for you, then I look forward to seeing your appointment on my calendar. Otherwise, there are other ways that you can support the channel. I mentioned at the beginning that everything that you see here is fan supported. I don't charge for anything, but I do kind of rely on you to help support me if you enjoy what you see. So if you click on that second card or second link, it'll take you to a page on my website where you can give some sort of a contribution. It can either be a one-time contribution or something that's more sustaining, like once a month. Even something as small as $1 or $2 really makes a difference here. It helps me carve out that time on my calendar, because just like you, I have to work, and if I don't get a lot of contributions, I have to fill up my calendar, and these readings come out a little bit later. So when you give a little more, I can give this to you sooner, and it's a win-win. I just like to say thanks to everybody who's contributed in the past, and if you're thinking of doing it today, thank you for helping make the next round possible. If you only have a couple of minutes and really want to help out, you can also click on the third card or third link. This will bring you to a page where you can subscribe to my newsletter, join me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And of course, if you haven't already liked and subscribed here, you can also do that first. All of these things help show YouTube and me that this is making a difference. And I'd also encourage any of you that feel moved to do so to share this on your social media feed. because this helps me really share this message with as many people as possible. And I put a lot of love and care into all of these videos, and I would love for it to reach the largest audience possible. So thank you in advance for helping me share love and light on this planet, and for doing the work on yourselves as well. That's what inspires me to come here every month. For your closing word this month, I really want you to focus on this Cosmic Gateway card. I think that this sums up best everything that's happening for you. Again, you have one of the most powerful and malleable readings that I've seen for anybody this month, and it's really up to you how far you want to go. I think some of you might have felt like you were trapped in the past. That is a limiting thought, and that's what I'm seeing here. If you've never had someone encourage you to kind of think bigger or take a leap of faith, I'm doing that for you this month, because if you really allow that to start to happen, and for some of you, you may need a couple of months here. We have this ceremony card that shows that even these little steps, if you decide, I would combine these two, go slow, like one step at a time, but do it regularly, you could actually make a very big shift in your life just by working a little bit every day on something. So if you've decided perhaps that you want to change your career or something about your life, start the action this month. It may take you 10 months because you're taking your time, but if you start it this month, the energy that's going to kind of be feeding it throughout the next year will be amazing. Don't delay. I would say at least take one step in the direction that you want to be headed in this month, and you're going to get really great returns on that, okay? I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to be here for the last 45 minutes or so. You have a lot of choices in life and also here on YouTube, so I'm humbled by your presence, and I just want to say I appreciate you, okay? I'm wishing you much love and light now and always. I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves, okay?